Hi, my name is Mike and I'm here to read a comic. And today's comic is Tales of the Legion of Superheroes, issue number 330, dated December 1985. An Eye for an Eye. This is the conclusion of the Death of Karate Kid arc, or I guess you could say Death by Corporate Edict, because as I explained in the previous issue of this title, the producers of the Karate Kid movies had to pay DC a royalty to use the name Karate Kid because DC had the trademark on that name. A trademark is different from a copyright. A trademark allows you to kind of protect the brand rather than a specific piece of work. And because DC was getting this very large royalty from the movie producers, they obviously kind of wanted to please these guys. And one of the things that the movie producers did request was that DC kill off its version of Karate Kid, so there was no confusion between the two characters. And they did so in the previous issue. And I had mentioned a number of times that the creative team, and I don't know how they felt about it, because, on one hand, it's a business. And, they have to make money and have to be mindful of that. But at the same time, maybe killing off a character simply because they wanted to please business interest, it kind of may have rubbed them the wrong way. But nevertheless, regardless of how they felt, I felt that the creative team here, and it's a terrific one, they did a great job in giving their Karate Kid this very heroic send-off. They knew they had to kill the character. They had to do it under a certain time period, and but nevertheless, they gave this character a huge bang going out, and they do take care of the other character. As I mentioned earlier, the story very much read kind of like the comic creators versus the executives, and I sort of kind of got that feel in reading the previous issue, and this thread sort of still runs through this issue here, and I'm pretty sure that the executives did not give two craps how they were portrayed in this issue. They were like, listen, we made those producers happy, we achieved our job, we're getting nice bonuses this year, so if these comic creators are angry, who cares? So that's just my guess on what went on. I don't know. See the cover. The cover's a good one. It has kind of like an independent comic feel. The artwork in this cover, and it looks like it's by Steve Leitner, is normally not art I would see in a Marvel or DC comic. This sort of looks more like an independent comic. We see there's a very large image of Princess Projectra here for a couple of reasons. She was Karate Kid's fiance. So she was the loved one that was left behind when Karate Kid was killed by corporate edict. And so she's sort of carrying the mantle of the creators. So all the anger and frustration that sometimes the creators have toward the business aspect of comics, they're kind of taking it out here. And Princess Projectra is their avatar. So she's kind of has a very stoic look. She does have the symbol of death in her eyes. So we do know there is another death here. We see a kind of a mix of some of the characters in the book, like Nemesis Kid and Montel and a few others. The one thing of note is Lightning Lord and Lightning Lass are going at it. We know that these two are brothers. Brother and sister, I should say. The rest of the heroes are just simply beating up on whoever. And so I'm going to go into the comic book. There is a little foretelling with Nemesis Kid about his fate here. So if we look at the splash page, and the Legion of Superheroes is at their lowest point. There has literally never been a point lower than this. One of their longtime members, who's usually around the fifth favorite Legionnaire, he is dead. He's unrecognizable, as the movie producers wanted him to be. They're making it clear that, hey, Ralph Macchio's face is the one you see when you think of Karate Kid. We see Princess Projectra. She's in tears. And again, like I said, think of her as the avatar for the creators. Just for simple dollars, a somewhat beloved character was killed off. The Legion of Supervillains, they defeated the kidnapped members of the Legion here. So they've been defeated. They defeated these guys for the second time. And at this point, they're at their high point while the Legion is at their low point. And we're told that the title of this is An Eye for an Eye, a Villain for a Hero. And the creators are Paul Levitt and Keith Giffen. They kind of shared writing and plotting duties. DC assigned a lot of talent to this comic because they basically have kind of two writers and two artists. And I'm guessing that everything was done sort of in step. My guess is that Keith Giffen, who was co-writing these books, he was also doing the plotting. So he's probably laying out the comic, and then Steve Leitner and Larry Malstadt, they would come in and do the finished artwork. So anyway, we see Chameleon King, who's very threatening here. He's making it clear that we're on top and you're on the bottom, and that if you want to hug that corpse there for a little while, hey, do so, but know that you'll be joining that corpse very soon. Princess Projectra, she lashes out. Remember, where they currently are is on Orlando, which is Princess Projectra's homeworld. And it's been taken out of the DC universe proper and kind of like transported in this kind of limbo in between dimensions here. And Princess Projectra is obviously very angry. Not only was the planet ripped out from the universe, the Legion of Supervillains, they've decimated the place. They've enslaved the people there. They destroyed and captured a large number of. Then they captured a large portion of the Legion, imprisoned them. And, she's just absolutely angry. So she's just demanding that they leave the planet at this point. And it turns out the Legion of Supervillains, they're not impressed. Nemesis Kid, who is the leader of the Legion of Supervillains, and he's the avatar for the executive branch. So if you want to see it played out that way, think of Princess Projectra as the avatar for the creative team, and Nemesis Kid is the avatar for the executives. And Nemesis Kid here is sort of giving off a lot of Patrick Bateman energy. Patrick Bateman from American Psycho here. And he's kind of gloating here, saying, listen, after all I've done, you think your little threat is going to bother me? And Princess Projectra is not standing down. She's demanding that these individuals leave her world at this point, and that they've done enough. The members of the Legion of Supervillains, they can't believe this. They can't believe that she's actually going to stand up to all of them. I think one of the members, is Nutrex. There are so many members, and I never get the names right almost anyway. She neutralizes her powers, so she was taken out pretty easily given the amount of threats she was giving. Then it turns out that Lightning Lass is watching the proceedings from one of the ships that the Legion of Supervillains has used to transport themselves from Limbo into the DC proper universe. She had stowed away on this ship. And during this time, she found out that her original lightning powers had returned, because previously she was empowered with the same lightning powers that her two brothers, Lightning Lad and Lightning Lord, had. However, because of that kind of dumb rule that the Legion had, that of no duplicate powers, even though they broke that rule all the time, because she was a girl, she had to be given different powers, and her power set was changed into one where she can change the gravity density of something to make it appear lighter than gravity. So that was her power for a long time. I think one of the things that the creative team wanted to do is, since we have to kill off this character, let's use this as an opportunity to sort of empower some of the female characters here. And they, obviously, they're going to empower Light Lass here. And it turned out she had knocked out 5 members of the Legion of Supervillains who were looking to go back to the DC universe proper and to handle the rest of the Legionnaires. Because the one thing that binds the Legion of Supervillains together was they had this oath that each of them was going to kill one member of the Legion of Superheroes. Now, obviously, Nemesis Kid, he succeeded in his task. And these other members, they were a little impatient, and they kind of wanted to have that little notch on their belt, but Lightning Lass was able to overpower them. And she's returning back to Orlando to see what she can do. Light Lass, I have to say, she equates herself very well here, along with Shadow Lass. Like the antics that Light Lass and Shadow Lass did in issue number 228, they're not doing those antics here. And also, I should say, Light Lass, she kind of looks a lot like Bridget Fonda here. She looks like a young Bridget Fonda. Lightning Lass, she has kind of like a good intuitive idea of the controls. She doesn't know the exact science, but she knows how to somewhat operate them. It's kind of like, not knowing the theory of electricity, but, being able to turn on an appliance. So anyway, the ship is going back to Orlando. Now at this point, she's trying to catch the Legion of Supervillains by surprise. And she wants to do it as soon as possible because it looks like they're going to kill Princess Projectra. Now, Light Lass at this point wasn't an official member of the Legion. She had left. I think she was having romance problems with her boyfriend Timberwolf at the time. And she decided there needed to be a break. But nevertheless, this is her friends. She's going to help these people. She was a member of this team for a long time. But she knows she's going to have to be good, and she's going to have to be lucky. So Lightning Lass knows that she's going to have it tough the moment she lands on Orlando. The other members of the Legion of Supervillains, they see the ship coming back. At this point, they think it's just their other members, and possibly with more members of the Legion of Superheroes for them to kill. The ship lands. It turns out it's who they believe is Light Lass. They don't know they're dealing with Lightning Lass at this point. She's standing there firm. She's saying, listen, I'm going to take care of you guys. Don't worry. I took care of these guys inside. I'm going to do the same to you. The members of the Legion of Supervillains, they're obviously very angry here. They all lash out at Lightning Lass. However, their attack is thwarted because it turns out that Lightning Lord has, created this large electrical charge that basically stops what the Legion of Supervillains was doing. Legion of Supervillains, they're surprised, but they see Lightning Lord. Lightning Lord is definitely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs at this point, but nevertheless, he was a founding member of the Legion of Supervillains, because when the brothers and sisters all had gotten their electrical powers, Lightning Lad and Lightning Lass, they went the good route, but the older brother Melk, he went the bad guy route. So Melk, Lightning Lord, he's making it clear that he will handle his sister, and that the others will not be interfering. He's sort of made this choice unilaterally. And again, this is a powerful guy, and he's going to enforce this edict. He's also a crazy guy. So he's going to enforce this edict with crackhead determination. Okay, so we go back to the DC universe proper. And we have the other members of the Legion. And they're basically just standing on this asteroid that's currently kind of orbiting where Orlando used to be. One, they noticed Orlando's missing. They know that the planet is the home planet of one of their members. They also know that the missing members that they can't find in the DC universe proper, they were on that planet. So it didn't take much for them to kind of figure out that whatever happened to Orlando happened to their missing members. Obviously, they're all very concerned here. It looks kind of like almost a full slate at this point. Because who I see Sunboy, I see Montel, I see Shadowlass, I see Sunboy, Dream Girl, Starboy, Dawnstar, Colossal Boy. I see the White Witch. The White Witch is kind of like an auxiliary member. She's the sister of Dream Girl. She shows up when there are big important things. I think there's Bork. He was a character who came in after I had stopped reading. There's Timberwolf here. So this is kind of like a full slate. I think also Brainiac 5 is around too. So anyway, as the other members of the Legion are there, a space police cruiser shows up, and it turns out that it's Officer Cusimano, kind of like, I think that's the same name as the Sopranos' neighbor. So anyway, it turns out that she's sort of like the official liaison between the space police and the Legion. And she kind of knows Colossus Boy, because Colossus Boy, prior to gaining his powers, he was an officer in the space police. So she sort of knows her, but they're more colleagues. She has a closer relationship with Sunboy, it turns out. So anyway, Officer Cusimano's there. She's saying, listen, I'm happy to see you guys, but this is actually official business here. And she's informing them that the Legion have been ordered to return to Earth. Now, what was going on previously is that the only member of the Legion that's currently on Earth is Cosmic Boy. And Cosmic Boy, he enlisted the help of the Legion of Substitute Heroes. Those guys are always, they always want to help. Cosmic Boy, he is dating one of their members, Night Girl. So they kind of have that connection. He's always happy to throw those guys a bone. He kind of impresses the girl. And then I think they have some members of the Legion Academy. I think what happened is they realized that some of these members are kind of aging out, even though they have names like Boy and Lad in their superhero monkers. But nevertheless, they're kind of aging out, and they know they have to train some new recruits. So those guys have been basically holding fort on Earth. Obviously, Earth has a lot of billionaires. These guys, they're a little concerned. They're concerned that the C team is, there, and they figured that the 1A guy, Cosmic Boy, he might not be enough. So these kind of, billionaires, they're kind of getting a little skittish here. They kind of want the A team back to make sure that them and their assets are protected. Brainiac 5 kind of questions this order. The others are basically following through with it. and Colossus Boy's kind of making a case. Listen, we gotta stay here. The officer's saying sorry. These orders come from the top. However, Brainiac 5, he's kind of putting up a fit here. He doesn't like these orders, saying these orders don't make any sense. But it turns out that Dream Girl is the highest ranking leader in the DC universe proper. Because I think at this time Element Lad was the leader, but Element Lad is in Orlando. And because of this, Dream Girl's in charge. And she was told of this order. She got to communicate earlier about this order, and she agrees with it. It makes sense to her. However, she's fine with leaving some members of the Legion behind to sort of monitor what's going on. And who she chooses is Montel, Shadowlass, Sunboy, and Brainiac 5. And it kind of makes sense when you think about it. Like Dream Girl, she's trying to consolidate her leadership position. And she doesn't need to get green lip from Brainiac 5, because Brainiac 5 is going to question every order. And this is going to get on her nerves. So she doesn't want to deal with this guy. So she's saying, listen, Brainiac 5, you can kind of stay here. And you kind of do want him there, because if something happens, he's the smartest guy out there. In terms of the other members who are staying behind, Montel and Sunboy, that's fine, because she's going to need some elite power there. Montel and Sunboy, they're like elite members in terms of power. So those guys staying there. Shadowlass is going to stay, I figure for a couple of reasons. One, it's going to relax Montel, because Montel is dating Shadowlass. So he's going to kind of want to know where she is. So that kind of like frees his mind. Also, she's wearing kind of this gothic outfit, and I'm guessing that maybe Dream Girl's kind of creeped out by it. She's like, listen, I don't want this creepy goth, chick on my ship, so hey, she could stay. However, the other members are leaving. Timberwolf here, who doesn't really factor much into the storyline, he kind of has this creepy look on his face as he's looking at Officer Kuzumano, who's really cute. He kind of looks like Ann Archer here. Kuzumano's kind of little disappointed that Sunboy won't be joining her, and Sunboy's a little disappointed that he won't be joining her. So I guess they're kind of setting up a romance with her and Sunboy. Sunboy was always weird in that he was this really powerful guy, kind of good-looking guy. Looks a little like Michael Caine here, but he was never like given an official girlfriend, or I don't recall any type of romance associated with him. So this is sort of like kind of something new where these two are kind of flirting here. So, but Officer Kuzumano's making it clear that she wants to see him again soon. And he's like, yeah, baby. So anyway, the space cruiser goes off, their friends go off. The four are left on this asteroid. Some boy who's kind of like an easygoing guy, he has a deck of cards with him. So he's kind of wondering whether, the rest of the team kind of wants to pass their time by playing some cards. Brainiac 5 is not interested. He looks like he wants to sashay around this asteroid. But he also wants to try to deduct what happened to their missing members. Montel, he's kind of putting on a brave face here, and Shadowlass is right next to him. So these two actually are kind of having their romance cover moment here. Anyway, we go back to Orlando, and Lightning Lord is facing off with his sister, Lightning Lass. At this point, nobody knows, none of the other members of the Legion of Supervillains know that she has her original powers back. So, Lightning Lord is kind of going through an identity crisis. He refers to her as little sister, but then he corrects himself, saying that, she's not his sister. Because he had broken ties with her earlier, because she wouldn't join the Legion of Supervillains, and he kind of disowned her. So he's kind of like I said, he's kind of like he's little rockers here. She refers to him by his first name. He rejects that. So he doesn't even acknowledge his previous identity. He just sees himself as Lightning Lord, this caricature. So, being the, brother of Light Lass or Lightning Lass, is something that's a distant memory. It angers him. He calls out for the storm. So at this point, he believes that he's transcended reality, and he's somehow kind of a part of this kind of mystic force he calls the storm, which he probably means his electrical power. Lightning Lass, she at last activates her powers, and she knows that her brother is ranting and raving. And the brother notices for the first time that she does have her original powers back. So they're going to be able to fight as equals using the same power. Lightning Lord is furious that his younger sister won't submit. Lightning Lass is making it clear that you're my brother, but you're not my master. And I'm someone who has free will here. The two are fighting. Initially, it looks like Lightning Lord is getting the better of her. He's older. He's also a male, and but Lightning Lass is holding her own. But I think that the fight is going on too long, because Lightning Lass is pointing out that her brother is like insane. Listen, you need help. You're nuts. The other members are watching this. Sun Emperor, who's also the other Looney Tune, I should say, of the group, he wants to end this fight, and he wants to help his friend. So he attempts to step in. However, Sun Emperor forgets that crazy people do crazy things. And Lightning Lord, excuse me, and Lightning Lord immediately attacks Sun Emperor for interfering with this fight. And Lightning Lord is making it clear this fight is very, very personal. And given that Lightning Lord is very, very powerful and very, very crazy, the other members of the Legion of Supervillains, they've gotten the message. They're not interfering with this fight. However, Lightning Lass, she sees her moment, and she overpowers her brother. I think because her powers had just been newly restored. My guess is that they're sort of fresh, and she was really at her most powerful point at this point. Whereas Lightning Lord, there's a lot of wear and tear on that body, because he has all that electricity flowing through his tissue there. And he's knocked unconscious. He knows he's defeated. However, Lightning Lass is not out of the frying pan at this point, because she has the other members of the Legion of Supervillains to deal with. And because Lightning Lord has been taken care of, they're just going to jump in and try to murk her. And the members of the Legion of Supervillains, they're just, at this point, they're sort of dragging it out, saying, listen, you're going to go up against me, or me, how about me? But it turns out that most of the members of the Legion of Supervillains, they're knocked unconscious. At least the ones who need to breathe oxygen. And it turns out that the defeated members of the Legionnaires, they've all regained consciousness, and they're all ready to fight. So what had happened with Lightning Lord and Lightning Lass was that their battle had gone on long enough for the other members of the Legionnaires to recover. And I guess the members of the Legion of Supervillains, no one was kind of watching those guys. So now they're kind of caught by surprise. It turns out that Element Lad had created a helium bubble around the members of the Legion of Supervillains. So the ones who can't who need to breathe oxygen, they couldn't. So they were knocked unconscious. However, there are a couple of members, there is at least one member of the Legion of Supervillains who doesn't rely on oxygen. And I believe that's Over, and he's from the same planet as Montel is. So he basically has Montel's powers. He was introduced in the Darkseid saga, when Darkseid kind of took control of Damarex. I think that's Montel's planet, and he had used the super beings on that planet. The thing about that planet is that everyone has these Superman-like powers, but the problem is that they are severely allergic to lead, and lead is a pretty common element in the universe. So it's hard for these would-be Supermen to kind of take over when just a simple, 32 caliber gun can kind of take care of them. Because the reaction they have to lead is quite severe. Montel was given a serum that basically made him immune to any effects of lead, but none of the other citizens of this planet have it, from what I understand. I don't know what went on in Darkseid Saga, because I only read parts of it. So anyway, we see Element Lad. We also see Phantom Girl, Chameleon Boy, Ultra Boy, Shrinking Violet. They're all ready for a fight, and they're totally pissed off about what's been going on. So right now they think they only have to deal with Over, but it turns out that Nemesis Kid, who was there and watching the proceedings, he was outside the helium bubble. So now they have Over and they have Nemesis Kid to deal with. Only two guys, but two kind of powerful guys here. Element Lad's kind of kicking himself that he didn't notice Nemesis Kid earlier. Ultra Boy says he's going to take care of it. However, Princess Projector says, no, he's mine. He is mine. And Nemesis Kid, he's trying to summon help, because his power set is that he can defeat any one single opponent, no matter who it is, even if it's Superboy. But the thing is, his powers don't work against multiple entities. So whenever he's fighting two or more individuals, his powers sort of short circuit. And he wants to make sure that doesn't happen, because he needs to isolate each of these members to be able to defeat them. Princess Projectra, again, the avatar for the creative team, she's saying nothing is going to protect you, Mr. Corporate Executive. Nothing. And she says that she's going to take care of Nemesis Kid, for her world, for her people, and for Val Armor. Because, no longer, they're not calling that guy Karate Kid anymore. Because, the producers of the Karate Kid, they're going to flip out if they see Karate Kid in this bubble. So they use his actual name, Val Armor. And she's also claiming she's doing this for her soul. So this is also kind of like a personal growth experience for Princess Projectra. And she says that she's claiming his life for what he did. Now the first one to actually attack is Over. And Ultra Boy takes care of him by using one of his powers. I think he was super invulnerable. So he's kind of knocked unconscious. My guess, I think that the citizens of Damarex, where Montel is from, probably are stronger than Ultra Boy, but Ultra Boy is powerful enough that he can handle them, and he's also much more experienced fighter, so he can kind of handle this guy. Now, one of the things that Element Lad does is that he can transform one element to another. So he transforms Over's clothing into lead. And because now his clothing is made out of lead, Over is having this extreme allergic reaction to lead. So this is sort of like just basically burning him at this point. And Over, the pain is so overwhelming that he actually leaves the planet's atmosphere at this point. So at this point, we don't know really what happens to this character. because they established that this character is a Looney Tune, but also the character's kind of stuck in this limbo place. So I guess they want to keep him there until they need him again. Some of the other members of the Legion of Supervillains, they decide to do a frontal assault led by Radiation Roy. However, they're greeted by Chameleon Kid, who has transformed himself into a large monster, and they're greeted by Ultra Boy. So these three guys, they're not willing to take on these guys, and they said, "Listen, we know when we're outmatched." So they run back to Zenmar's ship. Zenmar is a member of the Legion of Supervillains. It was his spaceships that allowed them to go from DC Universe proper into this kind of limbo dimension that they currently are in. So these guys are running out of the fight at this point. However, not all the members of the Legion of Supervillains are willing to do that. There are some of them who want to put up a fight. One of them is Magno Lad, and he has magnetic powers, so he's using those against Chameleon Kid, who's still in this very large monstrous form. But the thing is that he's so physically overwhelming that the magnetic energy that he has really isn't bothering him. So he just simply knocks him unconscious. And we see another character, Lazon. Apparently he has super speed, and this guy can travel at the speed of light. So both him and Ultra Boy, they're racing. And Lazon's saying, "Listen, you can't chase me. You can't escape because I'm faster than you." However, Ultra Boy reminds this guy that he's not looking to escape. And he basically just kind of gives him this clothesline maneuver that you kind of see in football, particularly like the longest yard. But so Lazon is kind of knocked out unconscious. Then we see the two ladies get into action, Phantom Girl and Shrinking Violet. They were kind of always two of the more competent members of the Legion. And they're facing off against Micro Lad, who's basically just the male equivalent of Shrinking Violet. And they're actually facing off against Zenmar. Zenmar is actually a creature that exists in a bubble, kind of like the boy in the plastic bubble. So even though he's on Earth, he's sort of contained in this kind of atmospheric unit that kind of floats around that he controls. I got the feeling that he's from another dimension. I got the feeling that he's similar to Nebulon, I think, in the Defenders, where he's from another galaxy, but he's looking for conquest. And he kind of joined the Legion of Supervillains since they were kind of in the conquest business. And I think he kind of threw in his lot with them. But nevertheless, he's not used to the atmosphere that they're currently operating in, and that does work against him soon. Then we see the two ladies, they go into action. Shrinking Violet just does the quick physical thing and just kind of knocks Micro Lad out. He was like zero problem for her. Phantom Girl is going to take care of Zenmar. Phantom Girl knows that Zenmar kind of doesn't like their physical world, and he likes being in this kind of atmospheric sphere. So what she does is that she phases through it, since those are her powers, Phantom Girl, and she disrupts Zenmar's basically body chemistry. So Zenmar is actually being physically touched by an entity outside of his dimension, and he's not liking this. So she's kind of tickling this guy, saying, "I don't think you're gonna like this," and he doesn't, and he's in extreme pain, just like Over was, and he escapes. Now he wants to go to another dimension because interacting physically with the outside world kind of really bothered him. So he wants to leave right now. The problem is that as he activates his transporter, he's gonna take Lightning Lass and Lightning Lord with them. So basically, all three of them have been transported out of the combat theater. There is an upcoming issue where these two kind of work out their problems. But nevertheless, at this point, Zenmar, Lightning Lass, and Lightning Lord, they're non-factors here. Now it's Princess Projectra versus Nemesis Kid. So these two are fighting one-on-one. This is the way they wanted. Princess Projectra has made it clear that she plans on murking Nemesis Kid, because she is the rightful ruler of this planet. So she kind of does set the laws. And at the same time, Nemesis Kid, since he can only fight one opponent at a time, this is what he wanted. So Princess Projectra, she uses her abilities to sort of create these realistic illusions of what she imagines hell would be, because she's planning on sending Nemesis Kid there. Again, this is the creators, lashing out at that executive wing. However, the executive, he's not so easily scared. His abilities to kind of negate another opponent's power, Nemesis Kid, he goes to work. So the illusions, just fade away at this point. And then he just physically attacks her, just by kind of just hammering her with the right hand. However, she takes it. She has kind of a bloody lip, but this chick ain't moving, and she is just pissed off. And you take a look at the eye, and it makes it clear that Nemesis Kid, nothing's gonna save you. And he looks, and he's like, he knows it. He is scared. And this is the point where they gave Nemesis Kid a very unceremonious send-off. They basically Gwen'd him, in that Princess Projectra, who's kind of going through her bloodline, saying, listen, Orlando was sort of a place stuck in the Middle Ages. But remember, the Middle Ages had they had wizards, and they had warlocks, and they had kings, and they had conquerors, and their blood is my blood. And I am accessing that cosmic switchboard right now. And all their powers and all their abilities, they're just drawing themselves into me. Because once again, she's the avatar for the creators. And she's calling Nemesis Kid a common killer, a mad dog, accidentally born in human form. And I'm sure there are many executives who could be described that way. And then we see the death of Nemesis Kid. It's done off panel. So she's going on, she's just taking her time, she's just venting, and then she breaks Nemesis Kid's neck. So at this point, Nemesis Kid was Gwen'd. And he has this very unceremonious death, whereas, Karate Kid was given this great heroic send-off. He's given this very kind of dismissive death. And it's over. And Princess Projectra has stated that, justice has been dealt. And it's tough for the Legionnaires at this point, because on one hand, members of the Legion, they gave an oath that they don't kill. And one of their members killed. But at the same time, they understand the situation. And she is the legal ruler of this planet. So there's like no one they can go to. Because, the ruler has, basically done what, their privilege. And Princess Projectra is calling the team out, saying, listen, I executed a common criminal, and do any of you want to call me out for that? They don't. They completely understand. So we go back to the DC universe proper. And remember, there are about 3 members of the Legion of Supervillains, and this story kind of wraps up fast. 3 members of the supervillains who had ran off. So they left Orlando, and they went through this this dimensional transport where they went from Limbo to the DC universe proper. But it turned out when they got off at the DC universe proper, they ended up in the place where Orlando used to be. And remember, Dreamgirl had left a kind of an auxiliary guard of Legionnaires there, and these guys are fighting them. So right now we see Montel in action. He's in action against Titania. Titania is like the one powerhouse member of these members of the Legion of Supervillains. For convenience sake, some of the members of the Legion of Supervillains who were knocked out by lightning blast, they're still knocked out. They're on the ship unconscious. Titania was the one that kind of woke up due to the crash, and Montel's taking care of her. There's another member of the Legion of Supervillains. He doesn't want to face off against Sunboy here, so he's hiding. So Sunboy's having a little bit of fun here, where he's not really fighting, but he's kind of playing hide and seek. And then we see Shadowlass, again, recovering her reputation after issue number 228, and she kind of belts Radiation Roy with a kind of a really hard left here. And so it's basically mop-up duty for the members of the Legion of Superheroes. Brainiac 5, he's using his force field to kind of contain some of these members here until they can kind of question them. And they have the other members of the Legion of Supervillains. They're kind of just packed in this pile here, very unceremoniously. Brainiac 5, he's questioning Ron Carr. I don't know what his powers are. He's kind of the Cosmic Boy knockoff. He spills the beans about what happened. He's saying, listen, Orlando is now in limbo. Your friends and our other teammates, they're on that planet. Now, Brainiac 5 is saying, listen, take us there. But it turns out they can't. And the reason for this is twofold. One is they were using Zemmar's ship. And while they understood the controls, they didn't really understand the principle behind the ship. So they really can't tell Brainiac 5 how the devices work. Also, when the ship showed up in the DC universe proper, it smashed into the asteroid. So the ship is wrecked. And not only do they not know the underlying principles of the ship itself is physically a mess. So there's no way they can reverse engineer this. The other members of the Legion, they're more concerned about kind of keeping the other members of the Legion of Supervillains incapacitated. Montel and Sunboy, they forge a chain for Titania here. Kind of looks a little like Christina Hendrickson. And Brainiac 5, he's looking at the technology of Zemmar's ship. And it's technology that he has recognized, but it's technology he really doesn't understand. So this technology is somewhat perplexing to Brainiac 5. So he's not going to be able to whip up something to get themselves into this other dimension. So they're kind of stuck here. They know that their friends are kind of stuck in this limbo. And basically, Brainiac 5 is saying, listen, we have to hope that they can get out on their own, because we're not going to be able to help them. So we go back to Orlando. And there's a lot going on in this story. We see kind of the wrap-up in terms of what's going on with this planet. The members of the supervillains, they were all rounded up, and they're on one of Zemmar's ships. So Zemmar had 3 ships, 2 of them that were still on Orlando, and the one that went into DC Universe proper. So we know what happened to that one. That one smashed. These 2 other ships are going to return the others back to the DC Universe proper, because Princess Projectra had made the decision that she's going to stay on Orlando, and Orlando is going to stay in limbo. Orlando is a place that's kind of stuck in time, even in the future, and she feels that the planet is sort of out of place with the rest of the galaxy. And, space trade isn't a big deal. It's not like episode 1 of Star Wars. There's very little space trade going on. It's not that technically advanced. They have a few things, but she feels that the planet and the people would be best served if they stayed in limbo, and she's going to stay there with them. Element Lad, he's kind of making the case that maybe you do want to come back with us. Hopefully, we can figure things out. We can kind of mess around with that no-kill rule. We've broken it before with Starboy and stuff. However, she's not hearing it. Now, there's a funeral pyre for Val Armour, because he's not known as Karate Kid anymore, and he is in his official uniform here, and he's being laid out here very dignified, and we see the body of Nemesis Kid. He's just left to the ground, and there's kind of like this dog-like creature sniffing at him, probably took a piss on him. So they're making, the creators are making it very clear that, our creation, he deserves like a heroic send-off. This other avatar that was for the executive, the dogs can piss on him. You see some really nicely drawn panels here. This is a really nicely drawn comic book, I'll have to say. Princess Projectra, she's saying, no, that I'm not going with you. I'm out of time, our society's out of time. I don't have my fiance anymore. I'm just going to try to rebuild my life from here and kind of not think about, the universe that produced, the Legion of Supervillains. So anyway, Princess Projectra officially resigns. She gives her flight ring to Element Lad, who is the leader, so he can accept her resignation. He wishes her goodbye. They do the well wishes. They're getting ready to transport the planet further into limbo. So as Orlando gets further into limbo, both these Zenmar ships that have the Legionnaires and the Legion of Supervillains, they got to get off this planet. And so they're quick to leave at this point. I'm going to turn the page. So right now, Orlando is gone. Orlando has gone deeper and deeper into limbo. The two Zenmar ships are there. The problem is that really kind of no one really understands the technology of these ships. I think some members of the Legion of Supervillains were trained in how the controls work, and Lightning Lass was able to figure out the controls. But it doesn't look like anyone here can figure out the controls. So there's a little bit of plot convenience. So they're thinking that they might have to wait until the Legionnaires catch Zenmar and then force Zenmar to come back for them. And they're kind of realizing this might be a long trip. However, it may be a long trip for one of them. Because it turns out that Esper Lass, who's a member of the Legion of Supervillains, she has telepathic powers like Saturn Girl. And the technology that Zenmar used is somewhat kind of like, bio-based. So it's sort of partially technology and partially life-based. And from this, Esper Lass was able to sort of get an idea of how Zenmar's ships work, because she can kind of read the minds, sentient minds of creatures. So she's able to figure out how the controls work. Obviously, she's not going to share this knowledge with the Legionnaires in the other bubble. So then it turns out that they leave. Esper Lass is kind of gloating to the members. Again, she's a telepath, so she can communicate with these guys. And it looks like Element Lad, Shrinking Violet, Ultra Boy, Phantom Girl, and Chameleon Boy, they're kind of stuck in this bubble in limbo. And I think they do have kind of a few adventures here. They eventually do end up back in the DC Universe proper. So it kind of leaves on that note. Now there is an epilogue. The epilogue doesn't involve any of the heroes. It just involves a single guard on Orlando. And he's overlooking the funeral pyre. And he sees that Karate Kid, his body's gone. So this is the official end of Karate Kid as a character in the DC universe. And at this point, the producers of the Karate Kid movie, they were cheering. They said, DC, there'll be no confusion. DC won't try to kind of, backdoor profit off our character's name. And the guard is noting Nemesis Kid, whose body has been left on the ground. And he's sort of unburied and kind of with the gutter garbage. And the guard is noting this, how young he is and how he threw his life away. And the guard's thinking that, our, royal majesty, she made the right decision, whatever that decision was, that this guy should go. And he doesn't really understand what was so bloody important that was worth all this killing, though. So, again, I think that's a little note from the creators saying we really didn't have to do this. Okay. So anyway, that's the end of that arc. It continues on with Lightning Lord and Lightning Lass. And apparently there's going to be a story illustrated by Joe Orlando in the next issue. And that was I'm not going to read the letters because I don't honestly know what's going on in reference, but I do know the letters were positive. So they liked the direction that the Legion was going in. It was a really good comic book. So that's it. And that is my review of Tales of the Legion of Superheroes, issue number 330. And I hope to have more reviews up soon. Bye.